Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy podcast channel. My name is Jed. How are you going? We are getting close to the end of the book that we're reading, and what a banger of a book it is. So let's do a quick overview recap of where we are. How did we get to this point? My light's misbehaving. So we started by exploring the idea, is it all relative? One of the most common beliefs of our culture and age. We allow politicians to rule us based solely on their own personal beliefs and opinions. We allow religions to exist that teach children from a young age what they must do upon punishment of hell or torture or excommunication, all sorts of terrible things if they don't do what they're told, because we accept this because, hey, that's just their interpretation, that's just their belief. Who are we to say they're not entitled to teach women that they're less than men, or that you have to genocide a population because the Bible says so? That's their beliefs. And isn't everything relative to our own personal beliefs? We allow capitalists to plunder the planet, exploit billions of people, leaving billions in poverty and slavery for the 85th yacht of that trillionaire. Why? Because it's their belief that they're entitled to it. We allow kings to exist because it's their belief they have the royal or the divine right to rule. Isn't that interesting? So, at the root of all of these things we allow to happen in our society and within our soul is the idea that everything is relative to one's personal beliefs, interpretation, or perspective. So we explored that because fundamentally we are interested in philosophy, the art of understanding and thinking applied to what's most meaningful and significant for our souls, our relationship, our species, and our existence beyond even this lifetime. But why go through that effort? Why learn something new? And why go through the effort of removing something that you have been believing or carrying that's false? Why go through all that if truth is just a matter of belief? And hey, don't the people who make the most money in our society, aren't they all believers? And don't they make the money because they can appeal to the beliefs of the many? Right? You can earn $1 billion if you start a podcast saying global warming isn't true, and the real victims are the oil companies. You can get a nice cushy job on a major news network owned by billionaires. If you say that all problems are caused by immigrants and not by wealth inequality, which is actually the truth. When in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? So not only is it all about beliefs, but the more malleable you can be with your beliefs, the more success you can have. So if that's what everything's about, being able to manipulate or scam people based on their beliefs by believing you're an expert and giving the appearance of expertise, then why go through the effort of learning how to think, how to understand, and applying it to understand what's most significant? Understanding itself, mind, and the self. In other words, if everything is relative, there's no point in real philosophy. So that's where we started, and then we soon discovered that belief functions through interpretation. We carry our beliefs that we project onto reality. Thumbs up. So to project what isn't there, and also we are blind or blocked from seeing what is there. So to add what isn't there and to leave out what is, that's interpretation. And that's the functioning of belief. So we're also along the way, because this has been personified by the character of Harry, we learned about understanding. Understanding is the opposite. We are learning to understand the text, reading, that we are reading, called reading with a capital R. That is, we are trying to read without interpretation. We want to see what's there. Not what you want to be there, but what is there. So the opposite of belief. So as belief functions through interpretation, understanding functions through reading or critical thinking. And we learned more about what is involved in understanding, reason. We have the capacity for reasoning, that's the logos. Experience or evidence, that's the other big thing that we can make use of as evolved intelligent beings. We have been recognizing that there are differences in whether or not the experiences are physical, perceived through our physical senses, or the experiences are non-physical or transpersonal experiences, our most profound states of mind, or the aspects of mind, the eidos, or the self-logos terms, or you could also personify them and call them the gods. So in other words, understanding really applies to non-physical models, while belief are models that you get from your physical senses. And not really models, you can only imitate what you can perceive. So what we discovered is belief functions through sameness of physical senses, while understanding relates to sameness of non-physical models, but also can relate to differences. You can make distinctions and see whether or not those differences and distinctions matter. Whereas belief can't deal with differences. So, belief functions through interpretation, while understanding functions through ousia and logos, or evidence and reason, experience and reason. Understanding can relate to principles, models, standards, ideals, causes, and axioms. Belief cannot. Belief deals with appearances in the physical world through our physical senses. So, two realms, the realm of being and models and principles versus the realm of shadows, the shadow realm, to quote Yu-Gi-Oh! So, these seem to be the two ways that we can apprehend reality through time. Now, understanding does seem to lead to non-time-based experiences, because all of those things that we are talking about that are models and causes for things in time in our physical world of becoming are themselves non-physical and non-time-based. It wouldn't make sense if the principle of beauty suddenly became less beautiful or more ugly if a physical beautiful thing, something that had a physical had beauty applied to it as an adjective, a beautiful painting. If you destroyed a beautiful painting in the physical world, surely beauty itself doesn't change. That would be absurd. So, there are fundamentally two ways that we can perceive through time: belief or understanding. And to claim that belief has any validity or significance or importance other than it just seems that way to me, if you think belief can apprehend truth, or your beliefs account to knowledge, or you can use belief for expertise. You are making a claim about truth and knowledge, or ontology, what is real, and epistemology, how we can know. So those are the two big words in philosophy, what is and how we can know what is. You don't have to use those words. If you want to, you can impress your friends by using them. But fundamentally, if you think that there is any validity or meaning or significance or knowledge or expertise involved in belief, you are saying truth or knowledge is relative to the interpreter. So as belief functions through interpretation, if you claim there's any significance other than that, you are saying everything is relative to the interpreter. So what started as just a common catchphrase of our time, we see, is a root sickness in the human condition. Now, we all develop beliefs growing up, currently in the way that we raise people as human beings. In our current stage of evolution, we get beliefs. It's important to speak about them, voice them, reflect on them. But if you think there's any significance or knowledge or truth to them, you are saying truth is relative to the interpreter, which blocks your development from belief into understanding. We don't want to do that. So anything that claims that belief has any significance other than what they should be used for, objects of reflection to discover why we believe them and why we're not letting them go to develop understanding about what's most meaningful and significant. That's what we should be using beliefs for, but if you think that they should be used for anything other than that, that's the sickness. So the human sickness is essentially stuck in, of the two things that we can do as human beings, belief A, call that cognitive function through time A, understanding cognitive function through time B. If we are tied to A and not moving from A to B, which would be our purpose as intelligent, evolving, intelligent beings at this stage of evolution, and would be the meaning of life for all intelligent beings at this stage of development, in any galaxy, any universe, any time, any culture, any species, any multiverse. It would be our purpose to move from A to B. If you are stuck in A, you are saying, hey, truth is relative. It's all relative to the interpreter. So that would be the human sickness. Because as belief functions through interpretation, there is something else it does. It fights to oppose understanding. It has to fight against reason and evidence to justify belief. So that's the human drama that we're in, and we've been seeing that play out with Harry. He tries to do tangents to distract us from reasoning. He tries to end the game or interrupt. He changes evidence. It's called moving the goalposts. When it turns out the evidence disproves his beliefs, instead of changing his mind, learning, going from A to B, beliefs to understanding, he tries to stay loyal to the ignorant, sick beliefs he learnt growing up by saying, well, actually, that evidence doesn't mean anything. And one of the most significant examples of that is Rapture, or the Armageddon. In the time of Paul, way back 50 AD, they thought the world was going to end. And when it didn't end, they didn't say, well, I guess we were wrong. They said, well, actually, it's next year, and next year, and next year, and next year, and next year. And we see this currently when a cult thinks the aliens are going to come and take all of the loyal cult members away to some galaxy, and it doesn't happen. Most people double down. That's the human sickness. When we realize that women are not less than men, sexists double down. When we realize that we need to apply universal principles universally to universally benefit, that's understanding, the capitalists double down. No, we need more slavery. We need more poverty. We need to raise the rents more. And so on and so on. That's the human sickness. It's all relative. So, belief functions through interpretation and fights against reason and evidence. And ultimately, when your tangents or your distractions or your goalposting of the evidence doesn't work, it will come down to fighting. A believer will just pick a fight. That's the abandonment of intelligibility. What makes us intelligent species and creatures, beings, is that we can reason evidence and reason. We can reflect, ousia, with reason. Those are the two things. That's our X and Y button on the gamepad of being a human being. The art of pressing A and B button together, the dialectic. The skill of understanding that can be used to benefit, therefore art. Ultimately, believers will end in conflict. Because understanding is mutual. Everyone can participate. It's transpersonal. It's universal. It apprehends universal principles. It's through understanding we apply universal principles. And it's through the universal application of universal principles that we all benefit. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win. So the only way for the human sickness to survive is to fight against our own benefit, making us savages, to fight against reason and evidence, making us primitive, tied to the script of whatever beliefs we grew up in, making us an NPC, using only a very, very shallow amount of reason and reflection, like a zombie. They can say brains, but not much else. And as you need understanding of whatever it is you're doing to benefit, believers can only do harm. So that is celebrated as what it means to be a good believer, sadism. So it's always divided, always in division, whether it's believers against understanders or my belief clan. I'm the chosen people, not you're the chosen people. My God is right, not your God is right. My political party, my king, etc., etc. It can only cause the opposite of mind. If mind is understood as oneness, the oneness of the universal principles of pure intelligence, the truth of reality, and goodness, oneness, goodness, and truth. Belief functions in opposition to that, only causing division and not oneness, harm and not benefit, and venerating the false and not the true. So leading to, one thing that understanding can do is predict the future. Through understanding, by understanding the nature of belief and how it functions, we can predict that it will only cause division and end up destroying our planet and species. Perhaps there'll be one CEO standing on top of a pile of dead bodies with $1 quadrillion while everyone else is dead. And Harry has demonstrated this is the appeal of belief. By being in a belief clan, you instantly know who's for you and who's against you, and you need someone who's against you so you can inflict that harm upon them, do the sadism. Otherwise, if you're not blowing someone up, how do you know you're a good Christian, or a good Jew, or a good MAGA, or a good capitalist? So, two fundamental cognitive functions, understanding, option B, leads us to the higher, more meaningful experiences that are universal principles, allowing us to perceive mind itself, making it also technically a spiritual process because you apprehend it with the spirit, not through the physical senses. That's the sense called ousia. And we have belief, which functions through interpretation. It's all relative is the claim that it has any legitimacy. And it also functions in a sadistic, divisive, harmful way, making it the root cause of all human problems. So isn't that neat? We've understood the nature of what it means to be human, to move from A to B, the nature of all human problems, to be stuck on A by saying everything is relative, and the cause for all harm and sadistic violence. Loyalty to that belief, because it functions in opposition to truth and understanding. We understand why our species is collapsing in a state of injustice, because we allow belief to function as expertise under politics, religion, and economics. You can't say, well, I have my own personal beliefs. That should qualify me to do surgery. You can't say my personal beliefs should qualify me to flying a plane. You can't say my personal beliefs qualify me to be a mathematics teacher or a mechanic. But there are 3 areas that we do allow beliefs to rule, which are the ones that are causing the most disgusting, savage harm. Politics, religion, and billionaires. Capitalism. So, isn't that interesting? Therefore, we want to make sure that we are ourselves ruled by understanding. And we discovered that these 2 ways of being, these 2 ways of thinking, belief or understanding, also manifest in all loving relationships. The traditional loving relationship is one person has their own beliefs about what it means to be a parent, or what it means to be loving, what beauty is, what a good relationship is, and tries to manipulate through conflict his beliefs onto his beloved. And his beloved also is motivated by her beliefs about what's good, what's worth doing, what's real. That's the majority of relationships. Sickness. We also saw that the true model for loving relationships and all human relationships is option B. Those relationships become a threesome because there's you, your beloved, and a shared ideal. A shared transpersonal ideal that you are both seeking together through the development of understanding into those insights, and those insights or higher experiences become objects of reflection to further develop understanding. So therefore, we have our model for true education, the use of our understanding to reach profound states of being, states of consciousness, states of reality, principles, standards, causes, and axioms, and the use of understanding to integrate that into our own being. Therefore, true education is transformative, not informative. And we could give a name to that. We are giving it philodianoia, the love of understanding. So then we ask the question, well, where does science fit in? Because science does use evidence and reason a little bit. It doesn't apply them to models or standards, but it does apply them to parts only. We do experiments where we isolate parts and we wonder about a model, create a theory. But we don't ever ask whether or not we should. We use evidence and reason on the physical parts that we perceive through our physical senses, and then we imitate nature. While nature uses these principles and forces of our physical world to enact some purpose with a consideration for the whole, the consideration for what's good, the consideration for the development of all intelligent beings to come to know the self. Scientists don't have any concern of the whole. Oh, look, we can do this one thing Mother Nature does. We can make nuclear explosions. Let's do it. So there's no concern or interest in all of those things that are non-physical, all those eidos, no concern for the good, no concern for the whole, no concern for beauty, no concern for justice, no concern for benefit. So it is a kind of belief in that it's an imitation, only you're not imitating this or that professional, like a believer, like a Trump is an actor imitating a politician. A business bro scammer is some belief-based scammer imitating a financial expert. A preacher doesn't know anything about relationships and finances, but will tell you how to spend your money and tell you how to do relationships, imitating a relationships expert, imitating an economist. But scientists imitate nature. And that's the tinker toy. We look at the parts and we never ask the question, what are those parts made of? What are they for? And we never ask any questions of meaning. So our current educational system is pumping out marketing idiots, finance scammers, capitalist sadists, weapons manufacturers. All of these harmful things that can do some things, but never ask whether or not they should. So it's a kind of, and therefore, still leaning on their own personal beliefs about what they should do with their scientific expertise. So, science or modern academia is in the realm of belief in that it imitates, only it's imitating nature. By using evidence and reason only on the small parts with no concern of the whole, I can do a thing nature does, so let's do it all the time. Let's burn all the fossil fuels, etc., etc. So, and therefore, we made a kind of model or map of the different kinds of beliefs that we have access to. Scientific beliefs and simple beliefs, which is also trusting in science, which uses evidence and reason only on the physical world of appearances and imitating nature, looking at only the parts with no knowing of the good, no wisdom. So the word used to know the whole of mind or model or map, wisdom. No wisdom. Supernatural beliefs, you can't apply evidence and reason. You can't prove Mary was a virgin or whatever, but Christians have to believe it. Prejudice are disproven by evidence and reason. Evidence and reason will show you shouldn't treat women as less than men. But lots of people are sexists. And of course, the root cause of all human problems, the pathologos, the reason we are tied to any one of these scientific, supernatural, or prejudice beliefs, because we are carrying an unsuspected false belief about self and reality that is opposed to evidence and reason and disproven by evidence and reason. And when we say self and reality, we do include the aspects of reality, knowledge, the eidos, knowledge, beauty, justice, and so on. So where we are, so as Harry says, so let's keep going in chronological order. So beliefs and understanding, there you go. And our relationships could either model the nature of reality and the purpose of all intelligent life to be a relationship bound by a love of understanding. That's the ideal, that's the model. Here we are. You and your beloved, bound by a love of understanding on a shared model, standard, or ideal that you are both seeking towards. You could call that the philosopher king or the dialectician. Perfecting the art of the dialectic along the way. Philodianoia, love and understanding together. Or your relationships can model the nature of human sickness, ignorance, and sadism. Beliefs. One person forcing his beliefs, another person forcing her beliefs, trying to manipulate one or the other. Conflict. So, the dialectic as the functioning of understanding, while debate is the functioning of human sickness belief. So, after seeing all that, Aaliyah comes in and says, so what? All right, so you've been arguing with Harry as he defends beliefs, relativism, interpretation, sadism, everything involved in belief. So what? I don't care, says Aaliyah. I don't even care about scientific beliefs that try and imitate nature. That's doing nothing other than destroying our planet. I don't care. I want something meaningful. I have a question I want to answer. I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know anyone who can answer that question. But if you can't answer these sorts of questions, everything else is pointless. So introducing the idea of meaning. All right, so you can tinker with the parts, but what are the parts? What are they made of? Not smaller parts, but what are they? And why are we here? And why are we doing this conversation? Why are we reading this book? Why are we spending this time reflecting on this kind of book and the nature of beliefs and understanding? Who cares? What's the point of it all? So this is another thing that beliefs can't access. Meaning. No meaning. So whatever you believe it to be, so what? Scam your way into as many yachts as you can get and kill enough people to exploit their labor and extract their profit to do so along the way. Who cares? Whereas understanding can answer these questions. But what we're learning is this dialectic, the activity, skill, art of understanding we're here to develop, isn't reason alone. What we're learning is that this dialectic makes use of both reasoned reflection based on evidence and experience, but in order to go through that process, you have to have an open, curious state of mind. Which we get through giving rise to a meaningful question. The application of the reasoned step-by-step reflection, reasoned, let's fill it out actually. Structured, reasoned. There's a structure or a map that we follow in the dialectic. Structured, reasoned reflection. Along with an open and curious state of mind, we can recognize, oh, that's the X and Y button that we can press. That's the logos. And our state of mind, as we reflect on a meaningful question about ourselves or our own consciousness or the reality that we inhabit, that's self-reflection, that's ousia. So that's what we can do. That's pressing the X button and the Y button on the gamepad. So that's the similar question that's one of those questions. Hey, we're in this video game. What skills do we have? What does the A, I'm not going to say A and B button because we're using A and B for belief and understanding. What's the X and Y button on the gamepad do? What are the two buttons we can press? What we saw is the use of this dialectic relative to the stage of human development of the individual you're talking to, that's called philosophical midwifery. So in other words, Joseph, our dialectician, is talking to Aaliyah in a very different way that he's talking to Harry. But also, he is saying, but there's still more of my art. I'm not really a midwife yet. I'm still learning. Because there are certain questions that Aaliyah has asked. Hey, if this is a development of a question that becomes a kind of pregnancy that you nurture and develop along the way, and then when you're ready to give birth to them, so this midwifery applies to fundamentally two kinds of things. Both questions about your pathologos, fundamental false beliefs about self and reality that cause you to be blocked, tied to the beliefs that you are inheriting. By the way, well, let's finish this. Questions about the pathologos beliefs that you are supposed to deliver yourself from, to use the midwife analogy, yeetus that fetus, and questions about the self logos. Which is the transpersonal or applied to, well, understanding and experience of mind, reality, self. We'll keep it with self. Questions about self logos. Meaningful questions about the transpersonal. So we want to deliver ourselves from beliefs and give birth to our deeper insights and understanding, transpersonal insights and understanding about what's most significant and meaningful to us. So if that's the case, then there must be an art to the philosophical midwifery, higher use of the dialectic to judge level of pregnancy. You don't want to give birth to a question too prematurely. The steps along the way, how to help people through the giving birth, the childbirth process, the pains that go along with letting go of the false beliefs you've been identified with your whole life, and allowing yourself to participate in higher states of being or consciousness as you integrate your deeper or more profound and deeper experiences through understanding. So that can be scary, requires courage, can be difficult. So there is a delivery process. So these are the questions that Aaliyah has asked Joseph, and Joseph hasn't been able to answer. Therefore, the author is suggesting you write the sequel. This is how he writes. What would it be like if Aaliyah continues in this kind of a relationship? What would it be like if Harry becomes curious about the beliefs? So we see the origins of questions about their false beliefs in both Aaliyah and Harry and Joseph. Joseph had questions about how he may pursue truth and understanding too fervently and ignore the human dimension, the fact that it's difficult for some people, like Harry. So he's still wondering why he does that. So there's still more of his own pathologos he's looking for. So what we're learning about this is it's incremental. You can get some insights, and you can have many problems that you can remove. So it's a many to one question. Equally so. Anyway, let's not go too far down that. Well, Theotetus was asked a question, can you bring the many different kinds of knowledges into a one as well? So, Harry is starting to wonder about the role that he has been playing, arguing false beliefs that weren't even really his, but he got from his family, but also arguing a losing position so he could lose and his daddy could win. So he's seeing that there is a drama, a game being played out that he doesn't even know he's been playing out. Aaliyah has recognized, well, I've rejected religious beliefs, they're still affecting me. While I don't agree with my father's way of being, he is still my model of loving relationships, such that I'm attracted to someone like my dad. Harry. I don't agree with Harry's Christian stuff, but he does sound like my father. In other words, Aaliyah is realizing that you can't just ignore your beliefs or karma. They will still affect you. You have to understand them. And this book is a goddamn banger. One of the reasons it's a goddamn banger is it's given us certain books that we can go out and read, Boltman, Maccabee, and a bunch of others, to understand the nature of Christian beliefs that have affected a lot of us. To see that the fundamental Christian beliefs that we accept today are not in the Gospels. They are Paul. And they are Paul's sick beliefs that oppose what Jesus says. That's Boltman. Maccabee goes in to explore where Paul might have got his sick beliefs from, because it's Paul's beliefs that we recognize as Christian today. So what would it be like if Aaliyah got into that reading? If Harry started to become curious about the role he was playing in being a dick in this conversation? And what would it be like if Aaliyah continues to nurture her question about what's this all made of, or what's the point of everything, including and I don't want an answer that maybe you'll find out when you die, this horseshit that belief-based scammers give us in church or in school. I want something that makes sense of it right now. So what if Aaliyah continues that in your sequel? And what if what if Joseph, the dialectician, continues his development into philosophical midwifery? Those questions that Aaliyah has asked, what's the birthing process? What's the delivery process? How do you judge whether or not somebody is ripe to give birth? Haven't been answered. Joseph is saying, I don't know yet. in order for you to write that sequel, maybe you can figure it out. And Harry is saying, or Joseph, I keep saying Harry. Joseph is saying, hey, by the way, as you read these books and reflect in this way and give rise to your own questions about your false beliefs that limit you and your deeper understanding you're here to give rise to, the two things we're here to do as human beings. Therefore, in doing that, you will be learning the dialectic and midwifery yourself as you go through this. So this, we would say, therefore, is the, so if we can say to purify our pathologos beliefs and perfect our mastery of, so to purify the pathologos and perfect our mastery of the self-logos, the two things that we can do, therefore, would be the meaning of intelligent life. Meaning of, let's use a different color. The meaning of life. Now notice, that's not a belief. It's not what we think is the meaning of life. It's not our truth. This is the significance of reading what's there in this book. This is why we are reading this book. We could be playing World of Warcraft. It's a fun game. It's a very addictive game. But we're not. We're reading this book here. Allowing us to answer a question. What's the meaning of life for intelligent beings? Now, there are other questions you could be giving birth to along the way, like Elias, what's it all made of? How can we prove this? How can we know what happens when we die? How do we know that we've purified our false beliefs? Do we therefore not only remove our problems in this moment, but also moving us off the cycle of death and rebirth? So the meaning or the purpose of intelligent life which would be, therefore, the mastering of the art of philosophical midwifery. Because you have to learn this process along the way, because that's what you're going through as you remove your beliefs and develop your understanding. So you have to be learning it, meaning you have to be practicing it. And the more you practice it, the more you become like the midwife. Beliefs are based on stagnant systems of authority. So the hierarchy is, I'm the Pope and you can't be popes. I'm the trillionaires now. Fuck me. And you are the working class. While we pretend it's a meritocracy, it ain't. It's a small club and you ain't in it. If you're not white, you can't be the chosen people. If you're not Jewish, you can't be the chosen people. If you're not blah, 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 blah. Whereas understanding, which is good and universal, and our purpose, you that begins as a pregnant party will eventually become the midwife. You become like the mind of the midwife. Just as us learning to read this book, our minds are being raised to meet the level of the insight and functioning of the author. And every episode of this series, we've been encouraging viewers readers to apply what they are seeing to their dreams. So as you reflect on your dreams through the art of the dialectic to translate the language, and as you apply it to your own specific level of development of these two questions, your dialectical reading of your dreams turns into philosophical midwifery, because they're your dreams or your friend's dreams or your partner's dreams. As you explore them, you raise your mind to meet the level of the dream maker. who seems to know all about your problems and your development. Not just yours, every living being who dreams. So could that be the model of the excellence of the art of midwifery? Maybe in the follow-up sequel that you write, Harry and Aaliyah and Joseph can meet up again and maybe do dream analysis. Up to you. So to master the art of midwifery is our purpose, therefore. Now, Aaliyah says, so I want meaning. All right, so you've helped us to understand that the nature of human problems is A, the cognitive function of belief. Human problem, the pathologos, causing us to be ignorant, to claim knowledge, expertise, rulership without actual understanding of knowledge, whether it's a president or a king or a clergy member or an imam or a rabbi or a billionaire. In our society and also in our relationships, anyone who is claiming knowledge of beauty and love without actually going through philodianoia, learning what we're learning here, Platonic philosophy you could call it, they don't know shit. They only have their personal beliefs. And of course, our soul. If you listen to any self-talk that says you're a this or you're a that or you're not good enough because of this or that, then you are listening to false belief. Do you know the self? Do you know whether you're rubbish? You're not good enough? You can't know things? You can't solve problems? You don't. So this is why we need that class of belief that we didn't touch on today, but so above the classes of belief that are the cause of problems, the beliefs themselves, there is a kind of belief that's a trust in the rulership of understanding. So it's not actually to be ruled by belief. That's axiom. In order to play this game, you have to accept the principle. Now, everything we've read gives us sufficient, or hopefully, enough reason and evidence to trust it. The Socrates, Parmenides, Homer, Pierre Grimes, the greatest minds to ever walk the planet, as well as everything we've been reading in this book, gives us enough, hopefully, enough to rationally trust that all human problems are solvable by addressing the pathologos. That's that kind of question. And that the truth of self and reality is reachable via understanding and direct experience. That's wisdom through the self-logos to play the game. If our purpose is to master the art of philosophical midwifery by purifying our pathologos to remove our problems and perfecting our understanding to reach the greater insights and states of being of self and reality, you can't begin that game unless you're open to the possibility that it's possible. And if you listen to believers, they will shut this down. Because if you can solve problems yourself and reach excellence yourself, you don't have to believe the guy in the funny hat, or the trillionaire, or the actor pretending to be a politician, or the actor pretending to be a pope, or the actor pretending to be a king. That's why beliefs are sadistic and cruel and harmful. So we need a kind of belief, or rather a trust in understanding axiomatically to begin the game. And last time we said there's actually a third one. You have to be open to the possibility that problems are solvable, insight and truth and wisdom is reachable, but also that both are providentially communicated to you through your dreams. There is an empathy, a care in reality that you can see, perceive, and test for yourself through your dreams. And empathy isn't enough. You better have the skills, knowledge, and expertise to be able to communicate. Do something with that. That's providence. Good heart, good head. The empathy, the heart, the understanding, the head. You need to make use of both. So, trust axiomatically that both of these kind of problems are communicated to you through your dreams. So that's the highest kind of belief. That's technically a belief, but not really. It's still the realm of understanding, because it's to be ruled by understanding. It's a necessary rational trust in the rulership of knowledge and understanding, nous and dianoia, in order to follow the logos and participate in the dialectic, which we just said is our purpose. To learn the dialectic from our reading, learn the structured reason reflection. How is Joseph organizing the ideas? How is he organizing the dialogue? How is the author organizing the text? And in reading it, can we give rise to some questions that we care about, so that we can apply the dialect, the logos, the reasoning to those questions? That's the dialectic. But because we recognize that ain't enough, reason alone ain't enough to deliver you from your problems or birth your insights, you need to recognize that there's a development of questions like a pregnancy, and therefore the dialectic is used relative to your stage of human development. That's the upgrading of the dialectic to philosophical midwifery. And as you purify your false beliefs and perfect your understanding, you're also fulfilling your purpose. The highest kind of art or functioning, the midwife, philosophical midwife. So, that's neat. That we can understand with two ideas the nature of all human problems, belief, and all human excellence, understanding. We can understand with just two ideas how we move from one to the other. Logos and ousia, reasoned reflection and curious self-reflection. Pretty cool? Yes, the answer is yes. Aaliyah says, all right, fine. I can see how all this can be applied to Harry's false beliefs, to purify him from his sick beliefs that block him from being a kind person or a rational person or engaged in reason and evidence, to become open and curious and participate in the dialogue. I can see all that. But what about my questions? What about someone like me who's a better person than Harry? I have these higher questions. What's it all about? I'm not content with just scamming people for money or fame like the majority of sick people are. I want to know what it's all about. And I don't want some bullshit answer that doesn't work. Maybe you know when you die, or it's all relative bullshit. No, I want to know the truth. And I want it to affect me significantly. So that brings in the kinds of questions that we normally deal with those higher sorts of questions. That is, questions about enlightenment. Aren't there some people who approach meaningful questions? Yogas and Buddhists and Taoists and Hindus and ascetics and meditators and yogis and all these, don't they ask? Do they use an expression, enlightenment? That refers to this is from the book. Let's make sure. Because remember, we have to find the answers in the book. Consciousness. What does it mean to be enlightened? Aaliyah says, I've heard talk about enlightenment and read a little bit about it. These are pure states of consciousness, and they sound good. So there we go. These are higher states of consciousness. Higher or more pure states of consciousness. Consciousness. Also, these sorts of people talk about karma, or your karmic debt. That's the let's find it in the book. Whoops. Ah, fuck.
Dude, suck my dick.
Hey, calm down. I was just on the wrong screen.
Please end kink shaming on your show.
Okay, I will be more open to that suggestion.
This is why I love this channel, man.
Gooner.
Some goons and some gooners and some weirdos.
And some weirdos. That's not me. That's everybody else. So, karmic debt. Let's find it in the book. Karma. Your life is your karma. Your present moment of existence is the result of your present and past thoughts, feelings, and deeds. Enlightenment is said to burn up your bad karma and make your next reincarnation better. And even if it's deep enough, take you off the cycle of birth and death, the wheel of birth and death altogether. So it's the accumulated how do you spell accumulated? I'll find out. Accumulated. ACCUM. Accumulated results of past and present, and this includes past lifetimes, present thoughts, feelings, and deeds. Thoughts, feelings, and deeds. And we want to burn them off, so they are the cause of our problems. These are the problems that we have. Your problems are your karma. We want to burn them off. Enlightenment is said to burn them off. So this is the raising it to level of meaning. We want to solve our problems and therefore get off the wheel of birth and death, but also know the meaning of life or higher dimensions of reality or the higher nature of self through experiences, maybe. So we raised it to that higher level. Then we saw last time, doesn't work. First of all, as Aaliyah says, they don't last. These higher experiences that people have, and we have talked about already in the book different ways. You can move quickly or slowly. You can move by car or by walking, through psychedelics or meditation or yoga, or all sorts of ways people can have these spiritual or non-physical experiences, or Usia experiences, NDEs, OBEs, near-death experiences, and out-of-body experience, all sorts. They don't last, number one. They don't last. Any experience of enlightenment will not have an effect on your everyday life. You might even forget them, unless you continue your practice. Also, so we'll put that on the board. Problem with enlightenment. Doesn't last. You need to keep having these experiences. doesn't last. Also, we saw in the text that some you might not even recognize certain states of experiences. Might not be enough, but let's find it in the book. So this section begins with Aaliyah saying, "Hey, you've been reading Plato and stuff. I'm not saying it's not good to remove your phony beliefs and get rid of them, like Harry. But what about real questions? What about people higher than Harry's allegiance to his bullshit beliefs and his dickish way of being through his beliefs? All problems, beliefs. There's a mode of being, a way of expressing yourself. But what about the higher stuff? Life and death issues, basic stuff. Like, what does it all mean? Have you had a good answer to that?" asks Aaliyah. "Why are you here? And don't play games. Have you found any good answers? Like, new dialecticians are good at asking questions, but are you also good at judging answers?" Well, yeah, those are the two things, right? Hasn't Joseph been judging the answers of Harry along the way? As well as asking questions. We have to be on guard for the belief-based answers, tangents, distractions, attacking personal images, gossip, appeals to fighting. Let's have a fight, says every single believer, eventually. So we've got to judge answers. Joseph says, "Well, I have heard these sorts of questions, not just about problems or beliefs, but about these meaningful questions. People talk about the soul being immortal, and so if there is a meaning, it's for our development of soul, therefore, and if there's any meaning to our existence, it has to go beyond this lifetime. Pretty absurd that there wouldn't be any lasting effects from our reincarnation, our physical life. So the soul would have to be immortal, surviving death in some way. So would we have to do something to do with reincarnation? But he doesn't really know." Harry says he's dodging. Aaliyah says, "Hey, don't interpret our dialogue in terms of debate through belief. Debate and belief is your game, Harry," says Aaliyah. "I'm not dueling. I want an answer that makes sense right here and now. Not fighting for my own personal opinions. This is the significance of a question. I just want to answer my question." And this is what we tried to do with the people who come through our channel and think that philosophy is about debating their stupid bullshit ignorance. We try and say, hey, what about if it's meaningful? If you need to get to work, otherwise you get fired, and you don't know where your keys are, do you want to engage in a debate, or do you want the answer? If your roommate said, "Well, it's my belief that keys don't exist. Prove me wrong, bro," like all of those right-wing American fascists do with their memes. "Hey, women are less than cattle. Prove me wrong. Abortion is murder. Prove me wrong." Bullshit. To me, keys don't exist. Prove me wrong. Fuck you. I don't care to engage in your ignorance. You can't participate in the true game of being human unless you give a shit about truth. If you're not seeking truth or wisdom, you're out. You're a bad person. We call that being a bad actor nowadays. If you're trying to defend your beliefs as a debate pervert, because you think you profit from them and you can exploit and manipulate people through your beliefs, religious, conservative, capitalist beliefs, or any sort, you're a bad person. You're not someone who's invited to the table. It's true for anything. If you want to be a doctor, but you don't care about helping patients, you're out. If you don't want to know like there's a meme or a viral thing that happened a few months ago, maybe a month or so ago. There was some student who didn't go to any of her psychology classes or something like that. And she didn't care about psychology at all. And there was some psychology essay question, and she ignored the question, she ignored the course material, and went on a rant about her biblical beliefs that are anti-gay people or something. Just like a homophobic rant. And she's like, well, you didn't answer the question. You didn't write a good essay. You didn't cite your sources. Just Christian nonsense. And of course, the right wing, oh, she's persecuted. We billionaire Epstein classes are the most persecuted people. She's not actually legitimately there. She's not interested in learning psychology or whatever the class was about. If you're not seeking truth or wisdom, you're in a problem. So we say, hey, yeah, if it matters, if you've broken your arm, do you want to debate your roommate about whether or not he's a doctor when you know he's not? Or do you actually want a fucking answer to your question? That's what it means to have a question. You actually want the legitimate answer. You're not content with it's all relative. So this idea, it's all relative, doesn't actually apply when it matters. The things about, like when you have a broken arm, you never, ever, ever believe everything is relative to belief. You go to the person with understanding, never, ever beliefs. You never go into a plane if you find out the pilot just has his own personal truth or personal beliefs about how to fly a plane. The difficulty with capitalism, religion, and government or politics is you have to think more than one step. They're not actively breaking your spine or actively, as a mechanic, destroying your car. They will destroy your car through policies, through time, or exploit you and scam you through capitalism over time, destroy our planet and species through religion and capitalism over time. It's not as immediate. So even otherwise intelligent people, some people that I watch, content creators, who are otherwise rational but don't see the harm that religion does because it's not immediate. Now, some of them will say, oh yeah, fundamentalists, when I can see them explode themselves and yell, praise Allah, and kill people along, sure. But I can't reason through time and see how an average religious belief that says that women are less than men because God, I can't imagine how that would affect a daughter growing up. And I can't put two and two together and realize that genocidal fascists like Netanyahu appeal to Jewish religious people, and Trump appeals to the Christian religious people, and these religious people want to put their policies into laws, their own personal beliefs into laws. Then it matters, but I'm blocked from putting two and two together. My own personal allegiance to beliefs prevent me from reasoning through time and putting two steps together and realizing, oh shit, it's not just religious people who are killing people actively in the moment. How many billions of people are killed through capitalism, conservatism, and religion? Many billions. It might not be shown on the news as a poor person murders a person, but how many people are murdered through a privatized medical system that profits by denying medical care? A capitalist system that built on wealth inequality, sending children to their deaths to mine minerals for the billionaires to become trillionaires. How many children died from conservative policies against vaccines or against medical research or against environmental laws to prevent the oil companies, etc., etc. So we want a real question and real answers. So, how are you with those sorts of answers, says Aaliyah to Joseph. I'm not fighting I'm not dueling debates. I'm not a debate pervert.
Perverts. Let's be honest, perverts.
Let's be honest, they're debate perverts.
Debate pervert.
Wrong. You're so wrong.
It was so wrong. It's got to make sense, not in some next world, but right here, right now. And it's got to include what we're talking about right here, the significance of this conversation we're in. I'm turning off this other light. Let's go with this one. My other light, my fill light, is flashing. And not the good kind of flashing.
Goon.
No. Alright, maybe I have to get another fill light. It's gonna make sense what we're talking about here. It's gonna make sense. Okay, so here are the kinds of the sorts of people who talk about meaningful questions seem to be spiritual people. You won't find them talking about meaningful questions in academia. No philosophers in academic philosophy talk about these questions, spirituality. I know, by the way, I took some philosophy classes at university, and I asked them about these higher states of mind, and I was laughed out of the office. We don't talk about that here. What do you mean? Isn't this philosophy? Go to some Buddhist or something. Fucking scam. They taught the Republic, which is about the higher states of consciousness and how we reach them, as a political text. So academic philosophy is just as garbage as everything else they teach in our current education system. So you won't find any meaning there. You won't find any meaning in religion. Do as you're told or else suffer in hell. You won't find any meaning in capitalism. Scam other people's beliefs, and then you'll get a political position. And then you make laws that harm people for the billionaires, and then you'll get a job on some company. And then do marketing, manipulate the images and beliefs of people to get them to act against their own interests. There's no meaning in that. It's the opposite of meaning. It's harm and ignorance. But the people who do seem to talk about the questions that good people become curious about, rational questions, what are we doing here? What is this? What's the point of it all? Are people who use the language of enlightenment, karma. But we are comparing that to true understanding. Notice everything we talked about isn't understanding. At best, it's the shadow and imitation of understanding applied to physical parts that are destroying our planet in academic science. But it's all belief. In other words, our institutions are all based on beliefs. True understanding or dianoia is what we are learning here. But other than this channel and a small handful of people that may be out there in the world who are doing this, the only other people talking about meaning are people who talk about enlightenment and karma. So, your life is your karma. Your present moment, says Joseph, your present moment of existence is the result of your past and present thoughts, feelings, and deeds. They live on and fix your future. So your past, present, thoughts, and deeds that fix you to your future in this life and in reincarnation. That's your karma. Future. Which are your problems? How do you solve your problems? Enlightenment experiences. Why? Because they burn away your bad karma and they make your next reincarnation better. And hey, if your enlightenment experiences are deep enough, they may take you off the need to go through the wheel of birth and death altogether. Interesting belief, but is that just belief the cause of all human problems? Or is it understanding? What does Aaliyah say? Hey, Joseph, that's the problem. I know someone that if she didn't continue her practice, her experiences of enlightenment wouldn't have any effect on her everyday life. doesn't last, so the experiences don't last because experiences have an end. I mean, ideally, you want to practice getting into those states of mind. Those might be talking about our ideal relationships, playing out the energy of intimacy or beauty or love in your belief-based fantasies can solidify your beliefs, but in the true model of relationships, through a love of understanding and a seeking of a shared higher ideal, can lead to more profound blissful experiences and insights that you could work on extending and returning to often. By the way, the use of, we saw this, did we see it in this book or the previous one? I think it was the previous one. So this is the idea of, hey, if our beliefs are expressed in every way, through our dreams, our tangents, how we relate like Harry's relating, but also our fantasies and our relationships, you can see A would therefore solidify our bad karma, or we don't use the word karma, solidify our problems, playing out your fantasies in your relationships like that. Whereas the ideal model, a philosophical or a love of philodynoi, a love of understanding approach, can lead to deeper, more profound, and longer lasting orgasms or peak experiences. Peak experiences. Now, in the spirit of this book that has been recommended other reading that we can do to learn more about this ourselves, Boltman and Maccoby, for example, for the author of this book has said, for those interested in this kind of thing, the books were The Immortal Sisters and what's it called? The Flower, hold on, I'll find it. I got it on my shelf. The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life. Apparently I think that's a two-volume book. The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life has within it information about this, along with the book The Immortal Sisters. I haven't read that one. The author said it's worth encouraging the woman to read that book and figure that out. And she can, as she learns that, right on the board, why not? Even though it's not this text, it's in the spirit of this text. The Immortal Sisters. So if you're a woman and you want to participate in the ideal model of relationships and the one that reflects the nature of reality and our highest state of being, read The Immortal Sisters and the Ancient Secret. Oh, I think maybe it's the Ancient, the Flower of Life. The Flower of Life. And reach out to a philosopher dude and say, hey, I've been reading these books. I like to test my understanding by seeing if I can communicate to you the philosophical way of approaching intimate, loving relationships. It'll help her learn to read, test her understanding, and, well, it might be the best pickup line of all time. If you want to participate in the higher kind of relationship. So, these might give you information on how to have these deeper, more profound, and longer lasting peak experiences blissful experiences, beauty experiences. How to stay in them longer is a key one, especially for women. So, in other words, you don't have to be sitting on a mat in some ashram under some waterfall or something and crossing your fingers and hope that Buddha will touch you on the head and give you these peak experiences. They are completely achievable through the kind of ideal relationship we've been learning about. Love and logos. And maybe these books. Give them a read. Might give you something to talk about with the guy that you are hoping to spend time with. There you go. And back to the book. So the thing about these enlightenment experiences is they don't last. They're not long. We talked about how we can have them more often and longer lasting. They don't last. There's a beginning, middle, and end, of course. To any experience, don't last. So ultimately we're seeking that which is beyond experience, the self. So there's the other question about don't last. No lasting effect. So they wear off. We can therefore conclude also doesn't involve or ignores or not open to the type of enlightenment that's beyond experience, what we've been calling crossing the purple line. So we can recognize these enlightenment experience, what they call enlightenment, we recognize as nous, or knowledge. One of the aspects of wisdom along with understanding. So while let's move these over so they fit. So while we've been talking about with Harry how to cross the green line from our own personal beliefs that we get from the physical world of shadows, perception, appearance, tying us to all of our problems on what's false, crossing the green line to understanding, the dialectic, the use of the logos and our self-reflection usia, which is into the realm of the transpersonal, or the mind, the being, or the intellect, the truth of reality, where we can perceive models or sameness of the models and understand differences. So that's wisdom. Crossing the green line from ignorance to wisdom, we can recognize that therefore enlightenment experiences of the various different yogi or spiritual traditions that you might hear about, Buddhism, Taoism, all sorts of things, it's nous. Why? Because they're peak experiences. that have the problems that Aaliyah is talking about. They don't last. And they don't have a lasting effect. You have to keep having the experiences, otherwise you're back into your problems. In other words, they lack the understanding that we have been defining as true education. Understanding to reach those peak experiences, so understanding how to model the purpose of life and the nature of reality in the ideal human relationships or ideal loving relationships, that's understanding. What we just talked about is they can lead to those peak experiences. You're not just be sitting on a mat eating rice only for 40 years and crossing your fingers, hoping that Buddha touches you. You can have these. So, but also in the afterglow of those peak experiences in those relationships, what do you talk about? You apply understanding to them. Because as we saw in the text, it's the understanding that not only leads to those, but allows us to make sense and integrate those. Therefore, if Aaliyah is recognizing it's not lasting and doesn't have a lasting effect, what are they missing? You guessed it, understanding.
Please end kink shaming on your show.
We will.
Unbelievable sluts these days.
Did you just hear what she said?
Goon, 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 goon,
Goon,
goon,
goon,
goon,
goon,
goon, goon.
Good, good, good. All right. So if that's crossing the green line, we have on this map, if this is the peak experience, truth, goodness, oneness, there must be, well, in principle, a cause, always. Just as we looked at the ignorant false beliefs about self, reality, beauty, and justice, we can cross the green line to look at the cause. What is true beauty and justice and self and reality that is being imitated in the perceptions? In other words, what's the actual expertise that the belief-based imitators are imitating? But in the same principle, so everything we learn about crossing the green line from ignorance to wisdom, we can then apply to those peak experiences that are facilitated through the dialectic, midwifery, and understanding. Take all those things we learn along the way and apply it to those peak experiences to realize that even that must have a cause. What's the cause of truth? True. Goodness? Good. Oneness? One. What's the cause of yourself experiencing the highest reflection of the self? Self. Therefore, the self. So if we recognize that this is the model or paradigm, remember there are two worlds, believers in the world of the shadow realm and understanders in the realm of principles. We took the fact that the realm of principles or models, the fact that this is apprehendable as a model means it's understandable, has understandable parts or aspects. That's what we've been calling the self-logos, the inherent intelligibility of mind or intelligence. Therefore, that has to have a cause, the self-logos. Therefore, the difficulties that Aaliyah is pointing to with enlightenment experiences is they are experiences. If we want something lasting, we better go for something beyond experience. Crossing the purple line. If your tradition is based on enlightenment experiences, how can you relate to that which is beyond experiences? You can't.
Unbelievable sluts these days.
Oh my god, unbelievable these days.
I ate a steak. I'm stupid.
No steak.
Gooners.
That's gooners. No steak.
Bull testicles.
Only bull testicles.
The woman? Ugh.
Hey, don't say that about her, Emma. Jesus, Emma.
Drop the attitude, man.
She's not a man, but I get your point. Anyway, enough soundboard nonsense. So, how can you relate to that which is beyond experience in a tradition based only on experience? You can't. Therefore, you need... understanding. In order to cross the purple line. Therefore, purple line from wisdom to the self. Which is why philodianoia, the love of understanding, is greater than philosophy. If this is wisdom, Sophia, that we love in philosophia, philosophy, philodianoia is better because it's the method that allows us to cross the purple line as well. Hooray. So, right, so back to the problems that she is recognizing in those groups, the non-philodianoia groups that talk about meaning. Again, you don't get an academic anything. Not open to a type of enlightenment beyond experience, crossing the purple line. Or the self. Too fat. That's what she said.
Fuck. Freaks.
Okay, that sounds stupid.
Hey, that's very funny what I said. It's too fat, too thick. Spammers in chat. The self. So she's saying, hey, by the way, if she doesn't keep having them, it wouldn't have any effect on her everyday life. Also, enlightenment doesn't make us angels, and you ought to know that as well as me. Through Amy, I've gotten to know several of these enlightened guys or gurus or mystics or whatever they want to call themselves, and it doesn't wipe away their bad karma. In fact, it's the other way around. It shows that karma is stronger than their enlightenment. Maybe that's true for everyone, I don't know. In other words, she doesn't see the principle. We can, because we're playing the right game. So another problem with experiences is they don't make you an angel. They don't remove karma as they claim to. But of course, karma we recognize as problems. So we would say with understanding, doesn't purify so the accumulated results of your past and present thoughts and feelings fixing you to the future, we recognize that as our beliefs. Our beliefs or pathologos. You know, it doesn't address the root cause, nature, significance of your belief and tying to fixing you to the future, keeping you stuck in or trapped in fate. You're fated to play your NPC script out, trapped in fate. That's how we can, if you have actual expertise and knowledge, you can diagnose what will happen in the future. A patient comes to the surgeon. If you know about the health of the body, you can say, oh, if you keep eating that ice cream for dinner every night, you'll get diabetes. You get some nice diabetes in your ass. Similarly, we're using that as an analogy for expertise of your own self. We could recognize that whatever specific false beliefs you're attached to as your pathologos. If they're not addressed, we can predict your future. You'll play out your fate. In other words, even from what we've seen of Harry, we can sort of predict how his relationship will go, how he will end up. In fact, Harry is even starting to see a bit of it. Hey, I'm going down with the ship. Even if those beliefs or that ship wasn't even mine to begin with. Hang on a second, I played that out with my father, and I would always lose arguments to him. In other words, we could therefore diagnose through understanding and actual expertise that we're here to develop about the nature of humanity and our soul and our mind, that his relationship with Aaliyah will play out with him picking arguments about things he doesn't actually believe himself, but he got from his family, and he will go down with the ship, won't he? He would rather be a pig-headed, obstinate, stubborn person doing his debate bro bullshit, arguing with Aaliyah, than he would rather do that and end the relationship or go down with the ship, rather than enter the new game, the good game, a true relationship, option B, that Aaliyah is learning about and Aaliyah is having a blast in. She hasn't played this game before. She doesn't know anyone who's played this game before. So we can predict the fate that he is going to end up in the exact state of mind he ended up with when he played this game at home with his dad. He'll go down with the ship. His relationship. Bars. Spitting bars.
In the final quarter of the...
In the final quarter of the what?
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
You've said that a lot today. Our Oracle is talking a lot about loving sluts. And that's fine. We love sluts. Everybody should love sluts. And they're unbelievable these days, apparently.
Spit on me.
There we go. We would love to, Emma.
Can I do my plugs now?
No.
I'm trying to do comedy career.
No plugs. Just Gooner sound drops.
Be a reasonable gooner.
But we're being a reasonable Gooner in option B. Remember? See? All comes together. Very, very good series of sound drops. Very amazing. I have decided. So, yes, that's his fate. So we can predict that's how his relationship will end. In fact, this could be something you could add to the sequel that you might want to write about this book. Maybe when Aaliyah and Harry and Joseph meet up again in a year's time, not only will Aaliyah be with Joseph, but they'll be reflecting on how he went down with the ship. Maybe he's got another partner. Maybe he's introducing her to a new game as well. Who knows? So, while everyone other than the Hellenic, us, lovers of understanding, Philodianoia, are either not talking about meaningful questions, the root cause of human problems, and the true nature of and meaning of existence and nature of reality, or the small section of the population who do talk about those sorts of things use the word enlightenment to refer to peak experiences of higher states of consciousness as what's meaningful, and they talk about karmic debt through reincarnation to make sense of our problems. It lacks understanding. Therefore, what we are doing here is the model for humanity. The Hellenic way of being is simply being rational. Rationally approaching the most meaningful questions. So, in traditions that lack understanding, they might use the word karma, but we would use the word beliefs or pathologos. And their claim that what they do offer, remember, if all you can do is hammer, then everything becomes a nail. If all they can offer are peak experiences through this or that yoga or meditation, we and Aaliyah can recognize it doesn't remove karma. Or, to say that another way, it doesn't deliver ourselves from, or as we said over here, purify our pathologos beliefs. Doesn't remove karma, or to say it more accurately with the correct language and terminology, doesn't purify or philosophically midwife our pathologos beliefs. What? Interesting. So there's problems with non-Platonic or non-Hellenic ideas of enlightenment. Doesn't last, no lasting effect, not open to types that are beyond experiences or crossing the purple line. And there are problems with its approach to solving problems. Doesn't burn off your karma. In fact, she went on to say, not only doesn't wipe out their bad karma, it's the other way around. So if we are as we are reading, we have to address our problems. There's no way of continuing to read and master what we are doing here. Well, there's no way of doing that without also addressing the blocks that come up. You can't simultaneously know the self and have an attachment to a false image of yourself. You can't have both. One's a pretender on the throne. You can't have two kings on that throne or philosopher queens on that throne of your own soul. In other words, you have to do both. Those that have these peak experiences without addressing their false beliefs of self and the problems they cause has the other effect. They play out their problems worse. So not only does it not remove your karma or doesn't purify your pathologos, these peak experiences also can make, not always, if you're in the game, these peak experiences can diminish the effect of your pathologos image for a while, lessen it, to help you continue your reading or continue in your midwifery. Those are the two games we play. Or continue in your development of those relationships that do both. They can make your problems worse. And so Aaliyah and Harry and Joseph met through their mutual friend Amy Nadine, is it? Her niece Amy Nadine. We're wondering, why is it Amy Nadine? And someone thought, well, that's it's an anagram of my sardines. But that doesn't make sense. Don't know why it's Amy Nadine, but there it is. Maybe there's another. Dine Naomi. No, can't figure out why it's Amy Nadine. Anyway, her niece got into this meditation stuff and this enlightenment stuff. I know myself. I didn't find anyone addressing anything meaningful at university or college or any of the things that I approached in mainstream. No jobs I've had, no psychologists I've talked to, no life coaches I've talked to ever approached anything genuinely meaningful in a rational way, or even considered meaning at all. I had to go to Eastern spirituality. Find out what those dudes are talking about. And what do you know it, they had these problems. Thankfully for me, I came across these works and the other works of the author here. So, as you have too, if you're watching this. Hooray for you.
The T-virus will transform me.
hopefully this will transform you into an epic creation as well. Right, Emma?
I'm cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
Okay, if you say so.
Honestly, on the real, I say stuff like that because I'm cool.
Okay, and so do we. We also are cool. All right, can make your problems worse. And if you met these dudes, ask them about their problems. Or maybe you won't even have to ask them because they'll tell you. Anyway, so karma is stronger than enlightenment. There you go. So Joseph said, that's interesting. You've got a good way of expressing yourself, Aaliyah, not Harry. Understanding has helped me. I have been able to overcome some of my problems, at least to some degree, through understanding and gain nice insights into the origin of a particular game I've been playing out through my life. So this whole paragraph has information about what it means to actually solve problems. We have many problems that have a singular origin. So it's a many into one. We can gain insights, we can overcome some of the problems while still having others to overcome or seeing the whole. So you can think of it as a multifaceted diamond. Only when you've seen all of the faces of the diamond have you seen your problem completely, that we are here to do. It's incremental. So we talk about belief and understanding being how we perceive through time. Belief is stagnant. You don't change. You don't improve your beliefs. You can become a more fervent hermeneutics person. That is, people stuck in belief spend their whole life trying to save belief that they got from their childhood by making it fit with their own personal beliefs. Noah's Ark really happened because, I don't know, every Christian will have their own way of saving the crazy Noah's Ark story. That's obviously wrong. There you go. Hermeneutics. So you don't actually improve, you just find other ways to stay stuck in your belief, stagnant. Whereas understanding is an incremental process through time. It's a relationship. Stay in the game. Keep the conversation alive is the point. So understanding has helped me to overcome some problems. So you can overcome problems to some degree. So there is an incremental development of those problems and you can solve problems themselves. But ultimately, we have to reach the cause. There's an origin. And by the way, your problem plays out in the particular games. So we've been seeing a lot about Harry's game, but we all have our own. So this is, of course, understanding. Notice, what's offered in those spiritual traditions isn't incremental. It isn't parts to whole. So all of the things we've been learning about knowledge and actual expertise, the surgeon has to see the whole of the body and all of the parts and relate to the parts through time and deal with the different expressions of health or sickness. Also apply to our problems. We have to perceive the whole of our problems and do so by looking at the different aspects and parts and how they manifest through time and their different expressions and how they come together. All of these happen through our philosophical midwifery talks, which is the essence of the true loving relationship. And good relationships, even if it's not an intimate one. It's the ideal of human relationships. It's to be Hellenic. Whereas all of those things that we say about understanding is not offered in enlightenment. Enlightenment is an all-at-once thing. You're either in it or you're not. It's not piece-by-piece steps of development. You don't seek to understand the cause of enlightenment. You don't cross the purple line. It isn't gradual development. It's you sit in the mat or under the waterfall or whatever it is you're doing, take the psychedelics, whatever it is, and you have it all at once. Without understanding, you can't make sense of it. Address the parts. So all of the things that we say about sameness and difference, earlier in the book talking about expertise, Believers can't deal with difference. All they can do is attack difference with racism, sexism, and genocide and all this bullshit. All of the harm we see playing out within our species. True understanding and expertise deals with difference. The actual surgeon. Oh, your heart's bigger, but that doesn't matter. Or it does matter. See, I can deal with the differences. The imitator of the surgeon can only do the surgery. Can only copy the appearance. So we could therefore conclude, because understanding, what color? Colors are left. No, we've already got green. This one? Yes. Understanding is what actually helped Harry. Helped. Can deal with many problems. Many problems that you have throughout your life. Can bring the many into one, which was the question that Theaetetus had. That made him philosophically pregnant. Can you bring the many knowledges into one? Many into one. Can deal with can learn and develop through time. Admits of degrees. Degrees of understanding and insight. Can address the origin or cause of your problem / problems plural. Can see or learn to see how it has been playing out within the dynamics of a game. The game that Harry's in. Going down with the ship that he wasn't even his. Fighting a losing battle. He might want to find out more about the origin. Hey, when he fought a losing battle with his dad, why? How is this tied to the sick idea of relationships, the sick idea of love and knowing? Hey, could it be loving to give dad an easy win? Did it make dad feel good about himself when he could crush his son? So long as his son fought a stupid argument that he was guaranteed to lose? If you love someone, don't you want to see them happy? Could this be the rare moments where dad paid him attention? All of these, attention. He was happy. Got to play a role that was acceptable. Did something good for a loved one. Are these all aspects of what is considered loving? Is that what keeps him trapped in his game? A sick idea of love? Learnt in childhood, as we all do? Is he demonstrating the root nature of all human problems? Is this book a fucking banger? Yes.
I love this guy.
And we love this guy.
I'm too pure.
in the final quarter of the ball game, you have to throw it, and
That's when it all matters. It's all up to that one.
Is it all up to that one moment like in the ball game when you throw it in? I don't know, but it's a good sound drop.
bull testicles. Bull testicles.
Ball test. Also. So, if this actually helps, you learn to, let's finish it off. You learn to see how it plays out within the dynamics of the game. You also can learn, which is incremental, or through time, learning to see, so you can come to see how that game has been playing out through your life. So it's another one into many. The one game that you learnt plays out in your many relationships. How you deal with your work, your play, your love, your dreams, your daydreams, your fantasies, etc. And see how this has been playing out all through your life. Keeping you, therefore, trapped in fate, which will allow you to predict your future. Your future that is on the horizon for you within this lifetime, the relationships you're in, how it will crash and burn, but also within your next reincarnation. If you carry this idea of the self, sick idea of the self and love and beauty with you into your death, how will that limit your experience of intelligence? How will that limit your ability to go beyond to know the self and upgrade the game to where Socrates is waiting for us? And if it limits your ability to participate in intelligence without even considering going through that to cross the purple line to escape the prison of reincarnation, let's just say you're in that, you haven't gone through that yet, but hey, would you take with you all of the sick, false ideas about self, reality, love, beauty, and knowledge? Wouldn't you carry that with you if you spent your lifetime nurturing them into your soul, limiting your participation in the brilliant light of being when you die, and also limiting your ability, your level of intelligence in your next reincarnation? Would you carry your karmic debt into your next lifetime? So not only can we predict the future, both in this life and beyond. Something we can do with understanding. Therefore, we can relate to our past, how it plays out in our present, and how it will lead to the kind of futures that are available to us. So all of this is available to understanding. None of this is available to enlightenment. It's not incremental. You can't make predictions. It's an all-at-once thing. There are no parts. There are no many to a one. It's just a oneness. It's an all-at-once experience. It doesn't address your problems. It doesn't see how your problems play out in your past, present, and future. In fact, if anything, it gives you more confidence or psychic energy to play out your problems. So therefore, we have three options on the table. Enlightenment, which we wouldn't want to call enlightenment, we would want to call it knowledge of mind and the brilliant light of being, but also recognized as a second kind of enlightenment experience, the pure state of the self. Karma, we wouldn't want to use that term because the actual understanding of it is pathologos beliefs. God, I had this eyelash in my eye for so long, for like a month, and then it was gone for a few weeks, and now it's back. Sometimes I can ignore it. Why is this eyelash in my eye? What's it telling me? What's the meaning of it? And why is it back this last week or so? Couple of weeks. So, 3 options on the table: enlightenment, karma, and understanding. What's the best? We saw karma is stronger than enlightenment. Uh-oh. Enlightenment doesn't burn away your karma. Uh-oh. But understanding is what actually helps to address your problems and can actually lead to those peak experience and actually allow you to reflect on those peak experiences and integrate them, but also go beyond them. So if someone says, do you want enlightenment? Do you want karmic debt? Or do you want understanding? Well, maybe you'll know what to pick. So I mentioned this book's a fucking banger. How many other books can outline that? What have we done? We've recognized that all academic institutions or mainstream capitalist institutions, so long as we allow religion and politics to be governed by belief, only ever do harm, only ever are ruled by belief. At best, they look at physical things and use manipulation either through science or exploitation of beliefs to extract or exploit people, extract profit or exploit people, trick people by pretending to be experts. In other words, there's no meaning in the mainstream world. The only groups that address meaning are these groups, which use words like enlightenment and karma, but they don't do any good, don't solve problems, and in fact cause more harm as well. Therefore, the one thing that we actually need that's not available anywhere else is understanding. Dianoia. Or love and logos. Love and logos. Filler. Dianoia. Therefore, while this would be as we said a while ago, the purpose of all life is to master midwifery, that way of being or that tradition is this. So the one true way of being for humans, the one true art we're here to master, Philodianoia. The one thing that offers us actual meaning rationally, unlike the other use of the words enlightenment and karma. So not only have we come to hopefully an understanding that's universal, always will be true, beyond this lifetime, so we can take it with us, even as we can take this art and insight and understanding and skill with us, even as we graduate from the cycle of life and death within this realm of ignorance. So not only can we know our purpose, the purpose of all intelligent life, and understand why it's our purpose, this book also offers us the understanding of why it's not just our own personal beliefs. So we understand our purpose, understand why it's our purpose, and understand that it's understanding. So we understand what's true and why it's true. So and by the way, we have to expect the counterattack. your beliefs will come up and say, surely that can't be the case. I'm not so smart to be able to recognize the meaning of life and understand it. I'm just a small bean. I'm a bad noodle, and I know that I'm a bad noodle because I know what myself is. I haven't learnt it, because that would be the purification of the pathologos and the mastering of the self-logos. But I believe that I know it. And isn't that what's true? I don't know who I learnt that I was too stupid to know the meaning of life from. Maybe it was my parents. Who's to say? I'm too stupid to figure it out. So long as I believe my parents, and my preacher, and my politician, and my capitalist boss. So we can understand what's true, understand why it's true, understand that it's true, and also understand our counterattacks that undermine truth. That's why there are two aspects. Purifying our pathologos beliefs that counterattack our transpersonal, objective, true understanding and insight into the nature of reality, the meaning of life, and the game that we can play to do it, as well as how it's expressed in the ideal loving relationship. It's a win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
If you don't know, now you know.
And now you know.
Hubba hubba. I just want more testosterone to human body ratio, and I'll finally be satisfied.
That's not what we're saying it's all about, Emma.
Goon.
Goons of gooners.
That's gooners.
Queen of gooning.
Just the queen of gooning.
He's so far up his own ass.
Hey, calm down, queen of gooning.
Jesus is gonna come down, wipe this place out. Who cares?
Hey, don't be so negative. All right, so Joseph's saying it's understanding that helped me. I've been able to overcome some of my problems, at least to some degree, and it was through understanding that I gained a real nice insight to the origins of a particular game I'd been playing out through my whole life. How are we for time? Getting up there. But important today, we're bringing it all together right before the ending. Aaliyah says, let's bring our characters back, why not? I'd like to hear about that. I really would, because I'd like to know what you're talking about. Sounds like someone is ready for a different kind of relationship. But you know what I just thought of. That means understanding is stronger than karma. There we go. And is likely to be more permanent and deeper than enlightenment. There we go. Have our conclusion that we came to ourselves. We saw it in the text. Therefore, to quote Aaliyah from the text, color, yellow. Understanding, remember, you can use the word dianoia, because we're not understanding physical things or shadows or appearances. Dianoia, true understanding, is more powerful, stronger than karma. While your experiences won't remove your false beliefs, of course, because that doesn't make any sense. Doing one thing isn't the same thing as addressing the root cause of another thing. Stronger than karma or pathologos. Stronger than karma or problems or beliefs or pathologos. So problems because of how they affect us, beliefs as what it is, but if we want to narrow down our specific personal one that we're here to address individually, pathologos. And it's more permanent and deeper. More permanent and deeper. Than enlightenment. Experiences. Experiences is the key word. So to go back to our map. While wisdom is the truth, is the experience of mind or the truth of reality, here, the truth of mind or reality is wisdom, it's still a reflection of self. So while this is the peak experience, there is a kind of enlightenment across the purple line of the self that isn't an experience. So it would be asking the question, even in these peak experiences, what's experiencing it? And because it's a reflection of self, those peak experiences that we talked about, we can facilitate through the ideal loving relationships. In the afterglow of those experiences, we understand them, integrate them as our model of beauty and justice, etc. But also, we can look at it as a reflection of that which is beyond experience. While it's not the self, it's like looking in the mirror. When you look in the mirror, you recognize your 2D reflection isn't you, but it can teach you things about you. While you at the same time recognize that it doesn't have what's most important. Your mirror reflection doesn't have will or intelligence or thoughts and dreams, but it can tell you some things about your appearance. Similarly, these peak experiences can tell you about the self while you at the same time recognizing it's not yourself. So in other words, just as we don't want to get identified with our beliefs, as Harry is doing, as human ignorance is.
Personality maxing requires you to look inward on a deeper level, and it's harder to fix.
Because then you have to make fundamental changes to who you are as a person. And it's because it feels like a much more core
Core component of themselves.
That they don't want to change.
Like, it's like, well, then if I change this, who am I?
So that quote from the Oracle, it's difficult to develop as a person because you identify with your false beliefs. Just as Harry has become identified and stagnant and bogged down in his fate or beliefs, we also want to not make the mistake of identifying with enlightenment. As we said, it doesn't purify your false beliefs, it doesn't last, and it's not the self. So we're making a distinction in the text. Understanding is greater than enlightenment experiences. So you can't take that experience of the reflection of self with you to know the self. You might be able to take the understanding you glean from that experience with you. Therefore, any spiritual tradition that isn't based on understanding, like any relationship that isn't based on understanding, is a problem. So like we said, all our relationships that are not built on understanding is going to have problems. So too, any spiritual tradition that isn't built on the logos, the self-logos, the dialectic and midwifery, is going to be lacking, inefficient, and may even add more psychic power to your problems. Therefore, once again, philodianoia is the meaning of life. The one true activity and way of being for humanity. Because, well, as we saw in the text, understanding more powerful than experiences. You might be able to take your dialectic skill and art and midwifery with you beyond experience. Hey, by the way, what have we been doing? Asking how we can see any of this playing out within our dreams. Does your dream maker have an existence beyond experience, but can still use the dialectic to point to and even facilitate peak experiences or problem experiences in your dreams? In other words, whatever state of being beyond the experience that your dream maker has seems to have an art. The very art that we are mastering as we apply ourselves to reading these kinds of texts and applying it to our dreams. Raising our mind to the level of the dialectician, of the author, and the dream maker. It's a win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win.
Cookie maxing.
Also, cookie maxing. Right, Emma?
Hubba hubba. I just want more testosterone to human body ratio, and I'll finally be satisfied.
Goon, 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 goon. Gooner bait.
All right, lay off Emma. Stop calling her Queen of Goonie. Okay. What nonsense. Okay, so. Right, understanding would be stronger than karma, says Aaliyah, and more permanent and deeper than enlightenment experiences. I have even heard that some enlightenment experiences are so shallow to have little effect on one's own life, and they can even be forgotten unless one continues the practice. So, again, we saw already, can be so shallow that they don't last, and they don't have any lasting effect. So same idea. By the way, when we reflect on our dreams or our states of mind that we have when reading or reflecting, could we recognize higher states that we wouldn't have even recognized as deeper states or enlightenment states because of our reflection upon it? Things you might have overlooked. Do your dreams give you help in recognizing and seeing what you might have overlooked? Only one way to find out. Harry says, wouldn't it be a gas if your next reincarnation plays itself out only in the terms of what you understand about yourself? Because the odds are that neither understanding nor enlightenment will get you very far. So he said one thing that might be true. It's our development of understanding and the use of understanding to purify our false beliefs and images of ourselves that we take with us into our next reincarnation. But then he said something stupid because he can't distinguish understanding from experience. So, fuck you, Harry.
Oh, fuck.
Joseph says, hey, wait a minute. Let's go back to the point Aaliyah was making. Just state what you call the problem once more for me. Please. So, definition. Aaliyah says, my question or problem is existence, plain existence. The problem of my being here in this very moment. That's what. And why are you here as well? Joseph, is that what you call a problem? No. And why do you call that a problem? So, he's beginning some midwifery. Define your issue. Okay, I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. Leah says, now, am I right or wrong about this? I've never heard nor read any satisfactory explanation for why I'm here, you know? Me personally. Nor have I heard why I'm here rather than somewhere else at some other time. Why in this century, in this culture, in this place? On this planet. Now, Harry, don't tell me God put me here, because that doesn't answer why he put me here. So God may know, but why can't I? Harry, you dick.
You should know that you need to quit living your current life and go start a new one as a minor. That is your...
Okay. That's a long drop. She's going to lay into him a bit too much. So, hey, Harry. I just can't figure out why I can't get a simple answer to a simple question. Now, to me, it's obvious that if you can't answer that, then whatever you can answer can't be as interesting as the things that you can't answer. Whatever you can give an answer for, smarty pants, isn't as interesting as this one you can't answer. Why are we here? And why here in this place, other than somewhere else? And I guess that bugs me the most. It's strange to be in a place and not know why you're here. Imagine being in a video game and not knowing what you're supposed to be doing and what buttons you can press to do stuff. Right? Now, I think Harry and I have the same question, only he ducks it by jumping into belief. but I can't duck it. So I'm stuck with it. Now, this is Leah is telling us something about her question, but also her nature. If she can recognize an underlying question within somebody else and how it's blocked by their underlying problem or belief, she might be someone really well disposed for a midwife. Because those are the two things, right? I think Harry has this question. I have an insight into his higher question that he might be having. Whoops. This one that we're here to perfect. But also I can see that he hides by his problem, his belief. So, Aaliyah might be what's the word? Not automatic, but her intuitive, not even intuitive, her natural insight to be able to recognize this says she might be someone we might want to ship with Joseph in our sequel. A natural philosopher. Maybe. Harry says, wow, that's amazing. You're only just learning about philosophical midwifery, but you're already demonstrating a knack for it. Wow. You've only just learned about the good game that human beings can play, and you're already playing it and having fun with it and wanting to do it more. You're amazing, Aaliyah. I'm so glad that I'm with you. I'm the luckiest man in the world. You can even recognize my own question that I haven't been able to see myself. I can't believe I get to be your boyfriend and talk to you about everything. Whenever we have lunch, I can ask you what you're thinking and use your natural insight and intelligence, your good heart and your good head to help me see what I don't see. My goodness, you're amazing. I'm so glad we went for coffee with Joseph, that he was able to bring this out of you and bring me to see that I might have been blind from this by my wanting to go down with the ship of fighting beliefs like I did with my stupid dad. So that now I can recognize that, not play that game. Boring. I've seen how that game ends. It's boring to me now. So I can value and appreciate your brilliance, insight, intelligence, natural aptitude for the highest game and the one true game that we are supposed to be, that we can play in meaningful, profound, loving relationships. You're the best, Aaliyah. Is what he could have said. Let's see what Numbnuts says instead.
Bull testicles. Bull testicles.
Bull testicles. What does he say? Because numbnuts. Anyway, he says, well, dear Aaliyah, first of all, patronizing. Recognize she's better than you. Dummy. Sexist, probably. Anyway, my dear Aaliyah, or maybe that's a fiction. I don't know. Maybe it's being a bit too harsh. I'm growing to be very annoyed at this person. Because this book's a banger and it's a fantastic demonstration of human problems. Well, dear Aaliyah, that's what faith is for. It ends that. Everything that we could have said is ended because of his faith or belief. And it has to end. So, Joseph, I do believe it's your time to turn the discussion over to me. So not only is he being not appreciating the brilliance of Aaliyah and utilizing it, he's shutting down her conversation and inserting himself. Fuck you, Harry. She's talking, and she's doing a better job than you. Fuck you, Harry.
They're completely lying to you.
Yeah.
Crap. Junk.
Crap.
Absolutely gooped.
You're absolutely gooped, Harry.
You know what? Suck my dick.
Well, maybe there's less of that because you're gooped.
Wrong. You're so wrong. But that's okay. We're all allowed to be wrong.
But that's okay. We're allowed to be wrong sometimes. So long as you stay in the conversation, Harry, and maybe... I don't know. But we are allowed to be wrong sometimes. That's okay. So hey, maybe it's your turn to turn the discussion over to me. Joseph says, stop crowing, Harry. Stop trying to peacock or be an alpha dick. Stop being a sexist moron. Cock blocking, even. Depending on how you write the sequel. Sure, Aaliyah's got a good one. And I'm not sure what that means, but I don't know how to answer her. Hey, I don't mean to be rude, says Aaliyah. Joseph, really, I suspect that what you have learned may have helped you. I can see that, but I'm not sure it'll work for me. You see, your answers don't cover me. Are the answers you've heard answering your own questions? Like, do you still have questions like mine? Joseph says, unlike Harry, who shut you down, dismissed it, retreated to belief like you predicted he would do, and he does do. Not only have I listened to you and defended you and wanted to talk to you over him, I've learnt from you. The thing Harry should be doing, I'm doing. I'm learning and growing from participating in your mind through the logos, through a shared love of understanding, the true game. Why? Because I have those questions now. So as he's been saying, you've been expressing the self, you've been expressing your questions, you've been expressing your curiosity wonderfully. So well that I share those questions. Another reason we can ship them in the sequel. Leah says, hey, having this sort of question that's so significant and meaningful. Imagine waking up in a video game and all these other people haven't even asked what they're supposed to do in this game or what buttons they can press. And they're all running around bumping their heads like idiots, chasing trinkets and not asking what are we supposed to be doing and how do we do it and why are we even here? It's so obvious and significant and meaningful, and it's dismissed by, who knows, everything is relative, meaning is whatever you want it to be, blah, 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 blah. But that doesn't help me. That's bullshit. It doesn't answer my question. But it's so significant. And I can't answer it, and I haven't met anyone who can answer it. Just like Theotitus. I have a philosophical pregnancy. I'm stung with a question. Isn't it disturbing? Isn't it crazy? Isn't it uncomfortable? What did we say earlier in the text? We have to go through... We have to pass, as Joseph says earlier in the text, page 64. We have to pass through perplexity and doubt. That's inevitable if understanding is to be reached. Harry says, why go through the effort? That's the end of part 2. Then he wants to have a fight anyway, and then Euripides comes in here and says, I don't want to go through perplexity and doubt. I want to fight you to be a good Christian. And Euripides comes in and says, hey, do you guys want some more coffee? Whereas Aaliyah's going through it. Doubt and perplexity. That part of the game? Do you have to be puzzled before you get insight? In fact, could you say the building up, like in a movie, or in music, tension and release? Building up the tension, the perplexity, seeing the significance of the question, the craziness of no one else answering it, how rare it is to have someone like Joseph and Aaliyah to talk to about this. The absurdity that even the small groups that do talk about meaning don't have understanding, and so don't do anything decent, and in fact do more harm often. Are we building up the tension? You can't answer it. No one else can in spiritual circles or academic circles. Never met anyone who can answer this, but it's so important. Maybe that is the nurturing and the gestation of the pregnancy of the question that leads to that peak experience. When you do answer that question, when you do meet someone like this, when you do play this new game, this new kind of relationship, this new kind of lovemaking, this new kind of approach to ideas, when you do find an answer to that question, could all of this disturbing doubt and perplexity be part of the game? Tension and release kind of a thing, like in music? Don't know. That's for you to write in the sequel as you go through and figure this out yourself. So Harry's like, hey, yeah, I don't care. Hey, first of all, first question to Aaliyah, what was your puzzle? Second question, why is it a problem? So they're going through a dialectic. Harry says, nah, shut up. That's what faith's for, to shut broads like you up.
Fuck.
They're completely lying to you. They're
You have the brain of a child if you think that.
Anything for a click, no matter. What the hell kind of a show is this? What is this? The comedy mothership?
Yeah, we're kind of like the comedy mothership with our crazy funny drops. So, hey, you gotta shut that down with belief. By the way, hey, I'm the alpha, bro. Like in the comedy mothership alpha podcast bullshit dumbasses. I'm in charge. Hey, isn't it my turn to shit on you in debate? Like a good conservative, religious, or capitalist moron? Stop crowing. Stop peacocking. Stop being a dick. She's got a good question. I'm talking to her. But notice, interrupting the dialectic, or as Joseph is learning to be a midwife, he's learning it with Aaliyah. Right then. Practicing asking the questions about her questions and following up on the follow-up questions, judging the answers. And she's practicing becoming pregnant with an idea. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win.
But then when you do it around bad faith actors who are not seeking truth and wisdom and what's beyond wisdom, the self, above all, who aren't seeking this kind of question about the most meaningful things and seeking truth above all, but also seeking truth about their problems to overcome them, then they're not in the game. They're bad faith actors. They're in sickness. And they might even function to interrupt good conversations, which might be another thing to wonder about. How can we make sure the true philosopher leads the dialogue? Do we want the most sadistic people ruling our society? No, we are seeing the effects of that currently. Do we want these sorts of people interrupting good conversations? We better make sure there's someone like Joseph in charge. Or we do it in the right environment, or we only invite people who are genuine at this level of dialogue. I don't know. Ideally, you want to do it to help everyone in public. Or maybe it's just a point of catching it when it happens and say, no, Harry, sit down. You're being a baby.
If you're experiencing a mental health episode, we don't want to have to see that.
We don't want to see your mental health
Your little
episode.
bitch-ass baby.
There we go. Your little bitch-ass baby. Sit down. So, Aaliyah says, I'm not like Harry. I'm not trying to fight. I don't want to be rude. I just don't know if your questions will work for me. They're all about addressing problems. What about the other side of the game? You know what I mean? Do you have questions like mine? Joseph says, well, I have them now. Aaliyah says, kind of disturbing, isn't it? Yes, says Joseph. Well, hey, maybe you're just studying the wrong questions, says Aaliyah. I hear you, says Joseph. Sounds like a very awesome conversation, very romantic. Then stupid Harry comes in. Is Aaliyah right? Can your philosophy simply avoid the kinds of questions Aaliyah has? Can you answer her from the Platonic basket of answers? Or do you have only questions? Fuck you, Harry.
I don't know if you know this, but like weird dudes exist everywhere.
Everywhere. And that's you. Joseph says, well, you know what? Can we answer these questions in Platonic philosophy or Philodianoia or the Hellenic? Well, I believe, maybe believe isn't the right word. Maybe hope's a better word for it, considering what we saw about belief. That there must be an answer to this. It's got to be there. Only right now, I have to admit, I haven't the faintest idea of where to look for it. It's got to be there, I just don't have it. Hold on, says Harry. Aaliyah, it's my turn. Fuck you, Harry. Fuck.
Like literally, suck my dick, dude.
So, Joseph, you have to believe, don't you? Ha! So you've got a prejudice. Maybe it's a prejudice, and you sure could use some help right now, but your friend Sophronicus, or whatever his name is, isn't around to help you, so you have to stand on your own. He wasn't standing on his own. He was working with Aaliyah. That's the thing. Beliefs are personal. Everyone's different. That's why even when the Nazis kill all of the non-Nazis, even when the Jews kill all the non-Jews, even when the Christians kill the Catholics, kill all the Protestants and the non-Catholics, you will still find division between beliefs. You need someone to beat up on to feel like a big man as a believer. You can't actually do good. Therefore, it's all a personal belief. The life of every believer is hermeneutics, saving the beliefs from Paul or Abraham or all the bullshit from the past that you happen to be born into. Saving it, hermeneutics, by integrating it with your personal stuff, your personal pathologos, your family shit. That's why everyone's is different. That's why you're always alone as a believer. Even when you're in the group singing Kumbaya, as soon as that church ends, you feel alone. And even within that, if you reflect on yourself, you might feel like you're not part of the group really. You're just pretending, or we're all just pretending. Belief makes you alone, but it's not debate. Debate, proving you're manipulating evidence and reason by opposing evidence and reason to justify your beliefs like hermeneutics. Debate is personal. It's going to end with Elon Musk standing on a pile of 8 billion dead bodies, or Netanyahu, whoever it happens to be, if we allow belief to rule our society. But we are not defending our pathologos beliefs we are carrying in understanding. We are following the patterns of logos as they unfold to us. We don't know. The believer pretends to know. That's the Dunning-Kruger effect, the appearance of certainty. Joseph and Aaliyah are perplexed. They know that they don't know. And they know that not knowing is part of it. If you're open and curious, you can follow the logos. If you're honest about your questions and your curiosity, your words will tell you about your problems or your insights. Your dreams will, your thoughts will, your distractions will, your fantasies and tangents will. The logos is constantly unfolding to us. We just have to look. To look, you have to read what's there without interpretation. That's the dialectic. You have to learn to look for these logos, to listen to the words, to ask the right questions, to create the environment that people want to talk about what they're most interested in or that they're most struggling with. Where are you at? Where are you stuck? Or the third thing, your dreams, the 3 axioms. Where are you at? Where are you stuck? And what are your dreams about? To create the ideal environment, never any punishment, never any fighting, no anything to do with belief. Fuck right off. No persecution, no punitive justice, putting people in cages, no punishing people for whatever. No blame, no shame, none of those are blame games or shame games. I repeated myself, but important. None of that. That's the ideal of society, to create the conditions where everyone feels safe and all of our materials needs are met. We're not being exploited by the most fascistic fuckheads of our species, trying to exploit profit and resources from all of us. The ideal, safe, friendly, reflective conditions so we can reflect about our highest questions and our problems. That's it. That's the standard. It's just that simple, as it is the standard for loving relationships. And Aaliyah and Joseph were doing it. They didn't know. They were perplexed. That's the point. If you recognize that perplexity and you nurture that, like nurturing the pregnancy, then you are reading so you can learn to recognize the logos, terms, whole, part, same, different. The nature of problems, like everything we've been writing on the board, is just so we have the terminology and the structure, either the structure of problems or the structure of enlightenment or the structure of the dialectic. By the way, it's the same. You can map the dialectic to this. If you wanted to. How does the self experience itself definitionally as that all at once experience? Oh, that's knowledge. How does it function? Demonstration. Oh, understanding. How does it divide off into different problems that are expressed in humanity? Division. Oh, beliefs. What's the conclusion of those divisions? Oh, image thinking. Different images. You're a Jew, you're a Palestinian, you're a Protestant, you're a Catholic, you're a woman, you're a whatever, racist, sexist nonsense. A diminishment from the root principle of the dialectic, the self and the self-logos, unfolding through its definition, its functioning, and its distorted reflection of it into divisions. Does that help us? Hey, didn't we say that beliefs only function through division and only cause divisiveness? What do you know? Applying the dialectic structure to these terms that we have been developing from the text gives us greater insight. So we're learning the terms and the structure, the self-logos terms and the dialectic structure. Why? So that when we're curious and puzzled, and ideally with others who, like Aaliyah and Joseph, become puzzled together, we can be on the lookout for those terms and that structure as they unfold in front of us. We're not doing it. That's interpretation, projecting your beliefs that aren't there, or blocking from seeing. We are seeing. It's effortless. That's that flow state. So long as you're nurturing that question, you can be curious about the logos that unfolds, so long as you're learning the language. And that's what we've been doing every step of the way. We've been learning the language of the dialectic and the self-logos to read the text and follow what's unfolding, and we've been practicing it ourselves by applying it to our dreams. If you are curious about your dreams and curious about those two kinds of questions, the logos and pathologos, the meaningful questions that we're exploring now with Aaliyah, and the problems that maybe Harry could become curious about. If you're open and curious and you're approaching your dreams with integrity in that space of, hey, let's just see what's there to be seen, then you can apply that dialectic structure and terms, all of the different variations we've been learning, to see it for yourself. To learn to follow the logos as it unfolds and gain the benefit. Practicing through with your dreams. Practicing by applying it to your dreams. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. So, that lovely connection between Joseph and Aaliyah was stomped on by Harry. Fuck you, Harry.
Disgusting. I'm so disgusted.
I'm so disgusted with you, Harry. And then, so he said you gotta stand on your own. We don't. We're not doing it. We're following it. Following the logos. So you might say, hey, peace out, or catch you later, or take it easy when you say goodbye to someone. You might say now, hey, follow the logos. In fact, you might say it like aloha. You say it as hello and goodbye. Aloha, follow the logos. Let's hope that we follow the logos in our conversation. Now you say goodbye, follow the logos. That sounds a bit dorky, but maybe you can find a cool way of saying it. Because that's the point, that's the message. Hey, you got a belief. And Joseph says, hey, you're right. You are right. There is a kind of belief that I needed to have to hold that question and pursue it, because I don't have the answer. In fact, I've been looking at beliefs more than the higher kind of question. It took Aaliyah's conversation to share that quest or question with me, but I'm willing to pursue it by reading these Platonic texts that we read on this channel here. But isn't that a belief? If you don't know, yes. But Harry hasn't learnt to understand belief. If he would recognize that there are 5 or 6 fundamental classes of beliefs. We've written on the board somewhere. Where are they? Beliefs, where are you? Here they are. Now, let's put simple beliefs in brackets because it's still trusting scientific beliefs. So there's scientific, supernatural, prejudice, pathologos beliefs. All of them are to be ruled by beliefs. But there's a kind of belief that isn't ruled by belief. It's a axiomatic trust in problems being solvable, the pathologos, our excellence being reachable through the self-logos, and that we can get guidance through our dreams. That's a belief until it ain't. Only thing is, it's not any of these other kinds of beliefs that are fundamentally limited, either because they can't be proven by evidence and reason, they're disproven by evidence and reason, they're opposed to evidence and reason, or they're only evidence and reason applied to the physical world so you can imitate nature without any concern for the actual knowledge of Mother Nature, the concern for the whole and the benefit and the good, making nuclear weapons and marketing bros. It's not that. It's the evidence and reason from our reading to recognize there's a necessary rational trust in the rulership of knowledge and understanding, nous and dianoia, which is of course wisdom, in order to follow the logos and participate in the dialectic, to play the game. So when Joseph says, you're right, it is a kind of belief, but in a way that you don't even know yourself. It's a trust in understanding. Technically belief, but not really, because it's not ruled by belief. It's all relative. It's saying it's all relative is garbage, let's find the truth. So technically belief, but not really. So you're right there, says Joseph, and more than you know. Maybe Harry should tune into the series. Aaliyah here was raising the whole issue of what it is to be enlightened or wise. And for me, I really don't know if it covers that. Aaliyah says, what covers that? Is wise the same as enlightened? Not for us. What have we got? Wisdom defined by understanding and experience. The way it's used by non-Hellenics or non-Philodianoias is just the experience. And giving rise to all those problems we've been outlining today. These problems. See? You can tell we are wise because of how colorful our board is.
In the final quarter of the
more holes, the better.
There we go. Thank you, Emma.
It's not being crazy. It's called reaching a higher sense of being.
You're not crazy. You're crazy. Harry's crazy. So, we are reaching a higher state of being. That's a good sound drop, actually. Aaliyah says, I've heard talk about enlightenment. I've read a little bit about it. These pure states of consciousness sound good. And maybe I'm strange, but I think, or maybe I believe. She's starting to learn the difference between belief and thinking, or belief and critical thinking, understanding. Maybe I believe, or maybe I know, or there's the other cognitive function, the knowing, the all at once insight. He's starting to learn the cognitive functions. By the way, if you want something to read that outlines the different cognitive functions, find the Balboa translation of Plato's Republic and go to the end of book 6. If you want. Or, I mean, then you'll be able to do that map that we've been referring to with the green line and the purple line. But there you go. I think, or maybe believe, or maybe know, that if I were enlightened and couldn't answer these questions of mine, I wouldn't think too highly of it. Bingo. Once again, showing us why what we do here is the one true mode of education, the one true spiritual tradition, the one true method of our development and evolution, and the one true state of being, and the one true game that we're here to play as intelligent beings. I'm not saying it wouldn't be great to be enlightened, but I want to be enlightened about these questions. Bingo. Well said. Good thing we have midwifery, which is about becoming enlightened through these questions and the application of understanding to them while we read and reflect and do dreams. I want to be enlightened about these questions, says Aaliyah. I really don't think the enlightened have the question, much less the answer. Joseph says, that's so well put, Aaliyah. I do believe that would confound even these saints. In other words, if you gather together all of those enlightened ones, either from religion or Eastern spirituality, and you say that to them, I think you might put them into a puzzle that may even benefit them, should they relate to their puzzlement and curiosity in the way that you are relating to yours. Placing this conversation and these characters above all of the saints. And hopefully, after today, we have a bit of an insight and a bit of an understanding about why that may be the case. Or why that is the case. So, banger ep. Just had word in my earpiece that this was a fire another one. Right, R.M. Brown?
Everything this guy does is perfect and beautiful. And he's handsome. I said it.
Wow, my stars. You're making me blush. So, another fire banger, another one today. Oh my goodness. Worth it. We're almost at the end of the dialogue portion. There's another section after that. But we're almost at the end. Got like 2 or 3 pages to go. Reviewing how we got to this point. From it's all relative, to belief versus understanding, to belief functions through interpretation as understanding does through the dialectic. That interpretation is it's all relative. So that which claims that belief is expertise or knowledge is this catchphrase we hear so often. To seeing that it's the root cause of belief is the root cause of all problems. to Aaliyah coming in and saying, okay, that's fine for problems and beliefs, but what about the higher insights? To approach to reflecting on the people who do talk about meaningful things, using words like karma, enlightenment, and saying, you know what's better, what's more powerful than enlightenment? Karma. Doesn't burn off your karma. You know what's more powerful than karma? Understanding. By recognizing problems aren't, well, what karma really is your pathologos belief. And it's solvable. And you know what's more profound and lasting than enlightenment experiences? Once again, understanding. So, when offered enlightenment, karma, or understanding, we can see the one to pick. But also, understanding seems to approach both. How to become curious about our problems and use our reading and our learning of understanding to solve them, and also to become curious about these meaningful questions. The two kinds of questions. One that we purify from our beliefs, one that we perfect through our understanding, leading to those deeper insights, leading to what is a kind of enlightenment beyond even experience, ultimately, provided we start with a kind of axiom. We have to be open to problems are solvable by addressing the pathologos. Excellence is reachable by following and then eventually mastering the self-logos through philosophical midwifery and dialectic. And finally, you get guidance and can practice both by doing dream analysis. Also, we've seen how this plays out in the two kinds of relationships. The more common one, to be bound by the ignorance of human problems and belief, or to be bound by a shared love of understanding. We mentioned that your intimate experiences can lead to these peak states, and there are two books mentioned by the author that isn't mentioned in the text, but I thought it was worth sharing. The Flower of Life and the Immortal Sisters. Within that, perhaps there is a method that you can follow, that you can use to apply to your intimate relationships to facilitate those higher states of being, making sure that they also become objects of reflection for the development of understanding, because understanding is tops. Therefore, the model of relationships, the model of dialogue, and the model of how we approach everything, philodianoia, love of understanding, versus the nature of all human problems, a love of belief. We can apply to all areas, putting this love of understanding beyond enlightenment and that which actually solves problems, or burns karma, if you want to use that expression. But hey, you won't know unless you try it. And you won't try it unless you're open to those three axioms. So that's, by the way, that's hyparxis. The ultimate kind of belief, those axiomatic beliefs, you take as a stepping stone to jump to a higher state of being. So, haven't we seen a lot? Share it with your friends. Best of luck. Oh, by the way, once again, anything about these peak states or enlightenment states, about these problem states or your karmic debt, everything about how we've learned about understanding here, can you apply it to your dreams tonight? Can you see how your dreams are communicating things about the problems that you are in? Can you see how that there are dynamics of your problem playing out in your dream dramas that you could put within a game? Is there a dynamic? Is there a goal? Is there ups and downs? Are there states of mind and functioning? Are there roles, like Harry's role with his father? Is there an end? Can you see how that game is played out through your life? Can you trace it back to the origin or cause? And what we've seen is it might be to do with your idea of love, talking about those two kinds of relationships. or your idea of knowing. In other words, how did Papa look in that dream? Sorry, in that early scene with Harry? And what was his role, and how does that playing that role that allows that role for his father, how's that tied to his idea of love? And how does it compare with the true model of love that we're learning about? Can you recognize that you can get a series of dreams? You can wake yourself up every 2 hours, because that's how long our dreams come. Or you can take a collection of dreams from many different nights and see that there are degrees of understanding and insight you can be developing if you apply this as a relationship. In other words, that ideal relationship we've been learning about, can you apply it to your dream master and your dreams too? Can you see how the problems might come into a one? Can you see any insight or information about that in your dreams? Can you see how therefore there is a past to that problem? Can you see that problem in your dream playing out in your present? And can you see maybe in your dreams some prophecy or some information about how that may play out in your future? So there's some things from today that we can take to our dreams and test it out. Remember, you're not supposed to get it right. You're just supposed to have fun playing the game. Become curious, become puzzled. And it is perplexing. Like, we have to go through that perplexment, puzzlement, and doubt. It's necessary, as we saw in the text, for the development of understanding. And that might be part of the tension and release nature of giving rise to those peak experiences of insight once we get the answer. Who knows? Only one way to find out. And once again, as it's been saying in the text, ideally do it with friends. Find some others to talk with and share this game with. It ain't a one-person game. And you can move quite quickly if you find people who are really into it. Move quickly like a rogue. You don't have to move cumbersomely like a paladin. If you want. So, fire bang another one today. Hooray for us. I hope you're having fun. Hope you're curious. I hope you are interested in your dreams tonight. And if you want to join the Discord, there's a link below. If you want to follow on Twitch, you can. If you want to donate to the channel, there's a link below if you want. If you want a PDF of the text we're reading, there's a link below if I said that twice. Anyway, I hope you have some nice dreams. And I hope to see you in the next one.